Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Shredlines. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Electronic Cigarettes Act of 2015, and let's delve into some of its complexities, shall we? Now I did mention this in an earlier video, but I guess with this new regulation I can't really name any names, so this is a... Well, I guess I can't really say. This is just a personal vaporizer, I guess we're going to have to call, which is unfortunate because the gentleman who designs and makes these things does excellent work, and this is essentially a device milled out of a solid block of aluminum. And that's all just stuck on there with magnets and friction. And inside there's a 10 milliliter juice reservoir and two 800 milliamp hour batteries on the side, run in serial, so they're able to add their voltages together. I don't know if you can see that. There's just that little wheel right above the batteries there. It allows you to adjust the voltage to dial in the exact heat you want to throw into this atomizer coil on the top. Now this one in particular has a hose that runs all the way from the bottom of the bottle all the way up to the bottom of the catch cup, and what this allows you to do is I'll just push the liquid up into it without having to do any tilting or dripping or any of that stuff, and 10 milliliters of juice will last you about a week or two. So let's just heat this guy up and see what kind of clouds we can. So as you can see, it generates a lot more vapor than you'd get out of a normal e-cigarette, and the amount of vapor you want to get is largely something you can dial in. Now, another thing that I want to talk a little bit about with vaping is vaping etiquette. Now, unfortunately, this is something that I have tried to push a lot for the last few years with the people that I've introduced to vaping, but there's always going to be that one asshole who decides, I'm just going to blow clouds everywhere because now I get to smoke inside. He'll be the one that ruins it for everybody, because as soon as that guy puts up a stink with the company that he works for, they're immediately just going to shut down vaping for everybody. So don't be that guy. So what can we do to make vaping more acceptable to everybody? Well, allow me to demonstrate. If we just simply take a quick haul off of it and exhale right away, get your steam cloud. Now, if you're able to hold in that vapor for about 10 seconds, by the time you exhale, there's nothing there. Like I said, you inhale for, however much vapor you want, and just hold it in there, and then let it out, right? And then if people do not see these large, puffs of steam coming out of people, we're not going to be sending the wrong message to the teenagers. And unfortunately, that is the crux upon which a lot of this legislation is based. Now the government is taking upon itself the responsibility of sending the right message to teenagers by saying, don't use this new technology at all. Just avoid it completely. Pure abstinence until we get around to figuring out whether or not it's safe. Now, of course, this is a new technology, and of course people are going to be concerned about safety, but the safety of e-cigarettes themselves is largely going to come down to the components you choose to use. If you go with some really cheap batteries, you're going to run the risk that you run with any kind of cheap batteries, as we've seen with these hoverboards that are catching fire all over the place, and cell phones that explode when they get charged up. So again, that's a lithium battery problem that's universal. And of course, that's going to be part and parcel of running an e-cigarette rig, and it comes with the territory. Again, your liquid, that's another point at which I suppose contamination could be introduced. Personally, I mix my own liquid. I gathered up a large supply of what I need many months ago, and I just mix it as I need it, rather than having to go out and get it, because it can get rather expensive if you get it at flea markets or over the internet, things like this. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below about what you think about this new Ontario vaping legislation, whether or not you think it's too intrusive, or whether or not you maybe think this is exactly what we need. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Let me know what you think. So let's start off just with a quick overview of what this act is going to be covering. So it's going to cover, well, its definitions, as most legal documents do. Basically, selling to people under 19, the displays, places of entertainment, prohibited places, retail stores, packaging, vending machines. You'll like this one. So, getting right into the definitions, commercial obviously refers to anything that's going to be making a profit. Electronic cigarette. Now, this is one of the things that I thought was very important at actually laying down a definition of. A vaporizer or inhalant type device, whether called an electronic cigarette or by any other name, that contains a power source and a heating element designed to heat a substance to produce a vapor intended to be inhaled by the user through the mouth, whether or not the vapor contains nicotine. So I suppose if we were to rig these things up to go through the nose, would that mean they are no longer a vaporizer? Ooh. Sorry, liberals, got you on that one. Let's see, a component of a device described in paragraph 1, any other prescribed device or product. Québécois de cigarette électronique, oui. Employee, basically, employer, we got that. Enclosed space, so basically anything inside of place, building, or structure, or vehicle, or conveyance, or any part of them. Interesting, okay. So we gotta have it covered by a roof. Prescribed place, to our French, lieu public clos, I guess. Enclosed workplace, so same idea, anything like that that's covered in a roof, that it's not a primary or private dwelling, or a prescribed place, so I guess that's named something else. Minister, yeah, I guess whatever, define himself as. Prescribed means prescribed by the regulations. Promote, with respect to electronic cigarettes, any kind of commercial act or practice, use of any communications, media or other means that's intended or likely to encourage the purchase or use of an electronic cigarette or brand of electronic cigarette, or create awareness or association with an electronic cigarette, a brand of electronic cigarette, or a manufacturer or seller of an electronic cigarette. So wait, does that mean that me talking about this right now is actually illegal because it's promoting use of electronics? Okay, I don't know. Anyway, well, let's see if they come after me. Use in this case. So what does it mean to actually use an e-cigarette? So that's going to be inhaling a vapor from an electronic cigarette, above, exhaling a vapor, or holding an activated electronic cigarette. Utiliser, oui? No problem. Private dwelling. So, yeah, we know what a private dwelling is as defined in Canada. Okay, so yeah, this gets into the talking about the, don't sell it to people under 19, sure. Problem. So this is going to basically cover the sale as any kind of tobacco legislation. Unfortunately, that just means an outright ban for anyone under 19. Fine, whatever. So, no person shall employ or authorize anyone to promote electronic cigarettes or the sale of electronic cigarettes at any place of entertainment that the person owns, operates, or occupies. So I guess don't buy e-cigarettes through my channel. I guess I won't get... Let's see, place of entertainment. Sure. So we can't sell in hospitals, private hospitals, psychiatric facilities, long-term care homes, pharmacies, oh, that kind of sucks. An establishment of goods or services sold or offered. Okay, yeah, so now they get into the signage about the kind of signs you have to place up. Okay, so no person shall sell or offer to sell electronic cigarettes at retail or for subsequent sale at retail, or distribute or offer to distribute electronic cigarettes for the purpose unless the electronic cigarettes are packaged in accordance with regulations. Fine, we got packaging regulations all over. That seems fair enough. If you're going to sell them, just make sure they're packaged properly. No person shall sell a flavored electronic cigarette that has been prescribed as prohibited at retail for subsequent sale at retail. So, I don't know, maybe that's the same as selling single cigarettes. Sure. Vending machines, general prohibition. So basically this part of the act says that you cannot have any kind of a vending machine that is dispensable to the public unless it does not contain electronics. Yeah, well, thanks. Okay, so you're not banning vending machines outright. That's nice. It's in a place where the public doesn't have access, so I guess if it's in a private area, maybe inside a company, I don't know. It's inoperable. Okay, so you're allowed to have a vending machine that's broken. That's sweet, but ironically we'll get into later. That contains an electronic cigarette that is only operable by a retailer or an employee of the retailer, so I guess if it's, behind the counter. So this was the section here that I found rather interesting as well, the exemption from liability. No person is liable for damage done to a vending machine in connection with opening under Section 8. That's where the inspectors can basically go in and rip these vending machines apart if they believe with reasonable grounds that they may contain e-cigarettes. Now, I'm not sure what it was exactly that this reminds me of. Prohibition. So you can't use it in any enclosed public place or enclosed workplace. In a school, building or portion of a building occupied by a private school, any area in a condominium, apartment building, or university or college residence, including without limited to elevators, hallways, parking garages, party or entertainment rooms, laundry facilities, lobbies, and exercise areas. But you didn't hear it from me, but I don't think they mentioned the roof. So I guess if you guys are really desperate for a vape. Place or a private home, daycare is provided, reserved seating area of a sports arena. Does that mean like regular seating, you're all good? Probably not. I've seen them kicked out people for less. A prescribed place or area, so I guess if they got a sign that says no vaping here. Big old middle finger that says no. Sorry. Go to the smokers section. Breathe in their secondhand smoke. Employer obligations. So basically the employers are obligated to make sure that the regulations are followed, which I assume would covered in other legislation, but post signs and ensure a person who refuses compliance doesn't remain in the enclosed workplace. So I guess that means it's like if you got somebody who is refusing to comply, the government is now mandating that you fire that person. So, they're just refusing to leave the area. Ensure compliance with any other prescribed obligation, sure. Prohibition. So you're basically not allowed to dismiss or threaten to dismiss an employee or discipline or basically do anything wrong to someone who wants to have this act enforced properly. So every proprietor of an enclosed public place shall basically do all of the above. They got to give notice that it's prohibited in an enclosed public place. Post all the signs. Make sure people who do not comply are ejected. Ensure compliance with all other prescribed obligations. So let's see here. Scientific and research, testing facilities. Oh, well, they don't really say too much about that other than the proprietor means the owner, operator, or person in charge. Awesome, thank you for that definition. So protection for home healthcare workers. So if you have somebody who comes to your home to help you with, your Ontario prescribed healthcare stuff, they have the right to leave, restriction. They have this, basically the right to just peace out. If they say, well, I don't like vaping, I know you need this, mandatory blood transfusion that I bring to you all the time, but, sorry, put it out, I guess, or put it down. It is depending on how it's activated, but yeah, they can basically just leave, deal with your vaping. So protection for people under 16 years old in motor vehicles. So you can't vape in the car if there's someone under 16. It's treated exactly the same way as cigarettes in that case, fortunately. Despite section 13, this section shall be enforced by police officers. So it's interesting for people who aren't too familiar with Canadian law. Shall, in many cases, an illegal document removes discretion from police officers. So now the state is telling these police officers, you don't have discretion to go back and forth on this. It's worded very sparingly, especially in the criminal code. The only exemption I can think of would be something like an arrest warrant, where if an officer finds someone has a warrant, they don't have a choice. They have to take that person into custody. So it's... Okay, so the minister's going to appoint inspectors for this section of the Act. So basically they can inspect any place where it's prohibited to sell, any place where it's prohibited to be used, wholesalers, manufacturers, any place where the inspector has reasonable grounds to believe activity regulated or prohibited under this Act is taking place. So if there's, I guess, an area where there's not supposed to be vaping, and the guy has reasonable grounds to suspect there may be vaping, over there with this, odorless at a distance water vapor, the following things are now being granted to them under the state. Inspector is not entitled to use force to enter an inspected place. Okay, well, that's good news, but I guess we'll see how that pans out here. So they have the right to examine records. They'd have demand for production, for inspection of a record or other thing. Sample of the substance. Okay, so I guess if they find this stuff there, they're allowed to take a specimen of your e-liquid or whatever. Question a person on matters relevant to the inspection. Now this one I'd like to pay special attention to here. Employers, they can question them as well. Proprietors, same deal. Okay, here we go. So obstruction. No person shall hinder, obstruct, interfere with the inspector who is conducting the inspection, making a seizure, or refuse to answer questions on matters relevant to the inspection. So you basically being forced to talking to the Provide the inspector with information on matters relevant to the inspection. Yeah, fail to comply with direction. In this case, record means any collection of information, however recorded. So I guess any documents you have relative to vaping, I suppose. So basically, if you're liable to a fine if you do not comply. So we'll get into actual amounts later. Okay, so here we go. So here are some of the fines. So for individuals, I mean, you're looking at fines, of up to $100,000 contravening some of these sections. Counts, corporations up to $150,000. Some of these amounts are pretty astronomical. So I would definitely be careful if you choose to vape in the future anywhere in Ontario. Let's see here, the governor makes regulations. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Are you a vapor? Do you feel that this is too intrusive? Or are you an ex-smoker that just quit cold turkey and feels that perhaps this technology would revert us back to the old smoking days? I don't know, I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comments and what you think about Ontario's new vaping legislation. Thanks again for watching this episode of Shredlines, and we'll see you next time.